With Real Estate Radio, we always want to feature some people who are doing some great good in our community. It's our chance to show off those that are the unsung heroes of a sort. And I have two of them in the room with us right now from Path, North Dakota. We have Carissa and Jenn. Carissa, I want to start with you. Tell us about yourself, born and raised, where you're from, and how did you land at Path?
So I'm Carissa. I'm a social worker at Path. I've been at Path for, going on 13 years now.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm a Minnesota girl, born and raised in Minnesota.
Where in Minnesota?
I was actually a small town, Waubun, just north of Detroit Lake. Yep. So about 200, 300 people maybe.
A lot of gangs in Waubun, from what I've heard. Yeah, rough neighborhoods.
Rough neighborhoods, no. But I was a small town girl, so coming into the Fargo-Moorhead area, big city for me. But like I said, I've been at Path for about 13 years, moved down to Omaha for a few of those years after college and whatnot. Yeah. I loved Omaha too. But happy to be back up this way because this is where a lot of my family and friends are and whatnot. So I'm having a couple kids of my own now and a husband. It's nice to just be close to family and close to cousins and grandparents and stuff like that.
And what does it mean to be a social worker at Path? Because people hear that word social worker, and all I think is you're broke, right? But there's obviously big things that are happening in your world every day. So with Path, and maybe educate us on what Path does and what your roles and responsibilities are as a social worker.
Absolutely. So as a social worker, you're definitely not doing it for the money. That's very accurate. I
worked for nonprofits for about 10 years, and it was everything that they said. It was nonprofit. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And, it's just amazing the people that I work with at Path because everybody has this passion to help kids and to help families and to see them grow. And a really big thing at Path is to keep kids connected to family.
Yeah.
So kind of what Path does, we are a treatment foster care agency. So we license foster homes and we place kids in homes who are going to be able to give them the support they need to become those successful community members and members of society someday. But we also have community-based services. And this has nothing to do with the foster care system. It's more of that preventative program. So we have a Path Stress and Trauma Clinic, and we have a family support program. It's really services that are wrapping around kids who are living in their family home to keep those families connected. And I think ultimately that's where my passion comes from, is just family is so important to me, and that's something that I truly value.
Yeah.
And to be able to help other families in the community who need it stay connected and get the supports they need to kind of move forward in a positive direction is what's really important. So.
Carissa, you have passion oozing out of you even as you talk about it. I want to swing things over to Jenn for a moment. Jenn, walk us through who you are and how you landed at Path.
My name is Jenn Helm, and I work at Path for 8 years now.
Okay. So you two have put up with each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
Right. It's crazy that it's been that long when you say it out loud.
Yep. I started at Path as a treatment foster care worker, and I did that up until this past October. And so there I placed kids in foster homes and then helped support the foster parents and the youth while they were in the home. And also did some work with the birth parents, trying to maintain those connections with the youth that are in the foster care home right now.
And so that's what you were doing, or that's what you are doing now?
That's what I was doing.
Okay.
And then in October, I switched to doing licensing and recruitment. Just needed a different change of pace. And so I get to come out and do fun things like this, go out and talk with people about what foster care services are or different community-based programs, and just raise awareness about what Path does. And then the other piece is actually licensing homes. And so meeting with those prospective foster parents, telling them about our programs, and then walking them through the licensing process and helping them become acquainted with what Path does and how they can help serve kids in Fargo community.
You two seem energetic and jovial and positive, and you're working in a field that has to be emotionally exhausting. There's obviously some really great success stories and some heartbreaking things that don't go your way. How do you manage to balance working with families and kids that are oftentimes in crisis, and everybody has the same end goal, but it doesn't always work that way? How do you balance those things professionally and personally?
For me, I think a lot of it is just like always remembering those really impactful stories, those stories where kids are coming back. And what I mean by that is we just had this foster parent appreciation dinner for all of our foster parents through PATH not too long ago, just a few nights ago. And I was visiting with a past foster parent, and they were showing me pictures of this kiddo that they worked with and maybe had some struggles with along the way.
Yeah.
But years down the road, they were invited back to her wedding and had these amazing pictures, and they still are connected today. And and these kids, they just call back and they say, you're a big part of my life, and thank you for what you've done. And I think those are the stories you need to focus on when you're kind of, as a social worker, feeling in a little bit of a rut, and having some of those feelings of those harder feelings, I guess. So.
Yeah, I'd agree, but I also think that learning to use your voice to advocate has been a really important thing for myself when I'm getting frustrated about things, to be able to work with my team members and really advocate for what a child needs, or what a foster parent needs, or even what a birth parent needs in order to get their kids back. To be a support to them and try to focus on that is really important and helps you get through those tough times.
I've seen foster care. My in-laws have chosen to foster some kids, and what a tough go. And I mean that actually as a positive, because we can talk about the exhaustion. And this young boy that came and lived with my in-laws, he had a very tough background that he came from, and so you empathize with him. And the love that we were able to give him as a family, years later, he doesn't remember necessarily who we are, and yet he's prayed for and he's cared for. And I think of those foster parents that are in this community who are putting themselves in a position where they can literally change a child's life and trajectory. Those are modern day heroes, right?
Definitely.
I'd imagine there's a need for more foster parents, isn't there?
Yes, a big need for foster parents. Right now we have about 86 kids on our waiting list that are waiting in the state of North Dakota for a PATH-specific foster home.
So where do they wait?
A lot of times they'll wait at a level of care that's not appropriate for them. So maybe they'll be in a residential treatment center and they're waiting for a step down into a foster home, or they might be at like a county home that isn't able to provide them with the supports that they need, and so they're waiting to step up into that treatment level home.
Okay. And you said 84?
86, actually.
86.
Yep.
Sorry, I've been drinking all morning. No, just kidding. So 86 families are needed. What are the qualifications for somebody to do foster care?
To become a foster parent, there is a licensing process that people have to go through. And kind of what that consists of, they go through background checks. They go through a lot of training, and especially to be a treatment level foster parent, there's a lot of training involved in the licensing process, but then also a very thorough home study assessment where the licensing worker is getting to know the family and their dynamics, and just kind of how they function, just to make sure that we are putting them in the best fit for foster care as possible.
So you have 86 kids waiting to get placed. And so they're in, as you said, Jen, they're in a place that doesn't necessarily have adequate care. What can we do? I have 2 young kids. Foster care isn't something that I can jump on right now. It certainly is something my wife and I have talked about in the future. But what can somebody like me, or someone who maybe doesn't have the capacity to take on a kid in their home, what can they do in this intermediary time?
Well, one thing is donate to PATH. Financial donations are always welcome. We use those for a variety of our programs. One of the programs that we have is called the Independent Living Program, and that works with kids that are 14 and older that are in the foster care system or have aged out of foster care. And that program is amazing. They help kids after they've left and really connect them to resources that they might not be able to access without having that worker. Other ways you can help is we just got a storage unit, so we're able to take in some gently used furniture that we can keep for kids. What are some other ways?
Really easy ways that I think people can help out is we all know people. We all know good people. So just spread the word. You hear about PATH. You hear us talking on the radio or whatever, but pass it along if fostering is not a thing that's going to fit into your life. You may know people whose lives it will fit into very nicely. And so spread the word. Also, social media is a big, important thing today. And so, like PATH on social media, share our events, just share the information out there to the community and friends and family.
And we do have programs that are part-time programs as well for foster parents.
Oh.
So you get licensed. It's the same process. But instead of taking a youth into your home full-time, it's a part-time thing where maybe you are matched with them for 4 to 6 overnights a month. And then you mentor
okay.
that birth family and help them come alongside them in the process of working with their child and supporting their needs.
Ladies, you're doing beautiful work and needed work in this community. Thank you. Real Estate Radio has nothing to do with Path, and yet Path has everything to do with creating great homes and great lives. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you so much for having us. We
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank
You bet. Folks, learn more about Path ND. Big stuff happening there. We're going to swing to break, so go to hatchrealty.com while you're there. This is Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch.